Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So in today's episode of Financial Rescue, we have Mr. Wolf here. So he is 24 mil, so he recently inherited 5 million and some property from his grandpa. He needs some advice on what he should do as he don't really believe in what some of his relatives said about investing in some shady company that they are invested in. And some of his relatives is also thinking about wanting the inheritance. So he never had this much money before, and he feared that he might easily get manipulated by his relative, as he is currently not in the right state of mind and still grieving over his grandpa's passing. So here is what I would do if I am in Mr. Wolf's shoes. So down in the description below, you can see the link to the post and the link to my comment. Also, there will be a form for the financial rescue. So if you're interested to be part of the financial rescue, just fill in the form below. So here's what I've commented. Now, the first thing he should do is he should stay away from his relative as much as possible. If can't, then hide the money in the banks. So do not get a financial advisor, as most of them will upsell the products to him and only a handful of honest financial advice. So the only way around this is to learn and invest in your own due diligence and in the best way. So why do I mention that getting a financial advisor is not the best idea? So this is because most financial advisors, they are tied to commission by their insurance. So they are trying to upsell you, like insurance plan or insurance product in order to receive their part of commission. But if you can find financial advisors that charges you a fee for their expertise and their knowledge, like fee based per session, a fee based advisor usually charge their clients a flat rate. So it's more transparent and more upfront. So jumping in back into the topic. So what will I do if I have this 5 million ringgit? So first of all, I will pay off all debts. So why, you may ask, is because this gives a peace of mind and it removes all types of risk, such as interest rate risk, economy risk, or whatsoever. Since Mr. Wolf has a big amount of cash, he doesn't need leverage to earn more unless he has a profitable business. But at this point of life, for a 24-year-old, having 5 million ringgit, all he wants is just a peace of mind, and this is the better way, paying off all debts. Next, I would take out a portion and to max out my EPF contributions. So currently, at this point of time, the EPF self contribution is capped at 100,000 annually. And the reason why I would consistently invest the max amount is because, based on historical returns, the EPF provided a consistent 6% returns and the government guaranteed 2.5% return based on the EPF Act. So it is just basically saving for retirement and beating inflation. So compound that by 30 years, and Mr. Wolf here would have 11 million ringgit by the time he retires. Now, the next step, I will prepare 10% to liquid high yield savings account or money market fund for emergency funds. Usually, I would recommend about 3 to 6 months of expenses, but for Mr. Wolf's case, due to the possibilities of some legal battles, I would say 12 months is the safe number. So I myself parked my emergency funds in Versa. They are offering 4% returns on the first 60K, 30K in Versa Cash and 30K in Versa Cash I. Do check out the description down below for my referral link. So I will set that amount plus some amounts into savings account and use it only for emergencies. Now next, from the chart, assuming Mr. Wolf here, he has 1 million ringgit in debt, so paying off this, he would have 4 million ringgit balance. So 10% to emergency fund is this amount, 400,000. After paying off the debt is 400,000. So he will have park 400,000 into your liquid money market funds or his savings account. Next, then I will budget 20% into the S&P 500 ETF. Historically, the S&P 500 has been returning about 7.5%. I personally would put some money onto the US market and let it compound annually. And over the 10 years, only 8.59% of actively managed funds, that is mutual funds, have outperformed the S&P 500. You may check out the source down in the description below. So we have a better chance if we just invest in the S&P 500 and let it roll itself. Next, I will also invest 20% into properties. Now, I know that Mr. Wolf will be inheriting some properties, but it will also be a good to have to experience the process of buying and selling properties. It may give Mr. Wolf an eye-opening experience on the process in the property market. Now, the previous step in investing into the stock market is to act as a wealth building tool, right? However, once we have the wealth now, we need a wealth preservation tool. And that's where properties comes in. Although we may rent, and I am all for renting, because for today's market, renting may be a better deal. But having the certainty of having a roof over our head, no matter what the market is, provides us a sense of security, especially when we have a family in the future. Now, some may argue that properties can be a good wealth generation tool. However, in order for it to be real success, it takes so much more effort than investing in the S&P 500. And that is why it is better for us to use it as a wealth preservation tool. Now, I will also use 5 to 10% to travel, to recoup our mental health. As Mr. Wolf is still grieving, I would suggest him to take this opportunity, to travel, to recoup his mind, or to see a therapist for his mental health. He might be going through a hard time, and I would highly recommend him to see a therapist. However, no matter in what state of mind, whether you are having a hard time or not, having a therapist to talk to is good for everyone. What will all this money mean if I do not have the health to enjoy it? So be sure to put health over wealth in any situation. We also have to budget for big goals. Now, this could be for marriage, traveling, or even your child college funds. So anything that gives you a purpose in life, budgeting for big goals. And I will put 10% to it. Next is budgeting for a business or side hustle. If there is some business or side hustle like you want to do, for example, for me, like starting a YouTube channel, Mr. Wolf here could prepare a budget for this as well. So I will set aside 10% into building a business or side hustle. Budget into giving. At this point of life, there is only so much we can do with money, and giving to others allows us to see a different perspective in life. Imagine treating a hungry family in a restaurant and seeing their smile on their face. How would that make you feel? I would set aside 5% into giving to others in order to see a different perspective in life. Now, last but not least is the miscellaneous expenses. Honestly, Mr. Wolf here is actually set for life. But you have to be humble and remember that for most people who gains access to huge sum of money fast, they will lose it fast too. So I do hope Mr. Wolf remains his discipline here. I've created a category for miscellaneous expenses that could fund his legal fees, his daily expenses, and etc. And I believe this is actually more than enough. The remaining is 500,000 here for the miscellaneous expenses. With that, this concludes today's episode of Financial Rescue. I really do hope Mr. Wolf continues to prosper in life, and his grandpa must have a reason on why he states only Mr. Wolf in his will to inherit this large sum of money. I believe he must be a kind and good person, and his grandpa can see that. I send my deepest condolences to you, Mr. Wolf, and stay humble, stay positive. I wish you all the best. I hope you guys like this content, so don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.